As a high school student in the US, I take for granted that every day we can use our phones and devices to access the news, movies, books, videos, songs, and social media. We can connect and interact with our friends, or even strangers, to learn and share ideas on a variety of topics. But it is not like this everywhere. I am a third-generation Korean American born here in Orange County, California. See, when we hear about Korea, or when we think about Korea, we often think of things like Korean food, K-drama, or even K-pop. But all of these things we associate with Korea are really only found in South Korea. In North Korea, things are very, very different. My grandmother, Jenny Lee, who is the little girl in this right picture, was born in Seoul, Korea, and raised by a single mom. She did not grow up with her father, and I was shocked when I found out why. In 1950, my great-grandfather, Sung-jae Lee, who is the man on the left here, was 27 years old, and my grandmother was born just the same year. That year, the North Koreans invaded South Korea, hoping to spread their communist ideals, marking the start of the Korean War. My great-grandfather, Sung-jae Lee, was a math teacher at a local high school just like ours, teaching students just like us skills so that they may become doctors, engineers, or whatever else they aspire to be. But one day, he went to work and never came back. That day, the North Koreans invaded the high school and kidnapped all the teachers there. They did not believe in the ideas of capitalism and did not want the South Korean children to receive an education or learn about the outside world. Everyone in my grandmother's hometown prayed day and night that they would see Sung-jae and all the other teachers again. At the end of the Korean War in 1953, there was a great hope that all of the prisoners would be released. But as the years and decades passed, everyone in my family lost hope and knew that they would never see him again. After learning about my family's history, I developed a strong interest in North Korea, especially in current events. See, when we hear about North Korea in the news, we often hear about Kim Jong-un doing all sorts of things, or maybe how they have all these nukes that they're ready to send. But we often overlook the 24 million people living there, trapped and oppressed by the regime every single day. Unfortunately, it is difficult to learn what goes on inside there, as the government controls the media and does not let its citizens communicate with the outside world. In order to broaden my knowledge, I joined an organization called Liberty in North Korea, or LINK for short. LINK has helped over 1,000 North Koreans escape from China through a 3,000-mile-long underground tunnel system. In addition to saving their lives, LINK provides these defectors with the opportunity to share their stories through lectures, videos, books, or even TED Talks. Through LINK, I have met many North Koreans who resettled both in the US and South Korea. Many of them escaped when they were my age and faced unfathomable tragedies with their families, including starvation, torture in political camps, and human trafficking. I hosted a silent auction for a fundraising gala for LINK and attended many events where I could hear the stories of various North Koreans. I even went to Disneyland with a group of them and realized they are just regular people like you and me. As I continued to conduct my own research, I became interested in the impact of outside media on the North Koreans. I realized the importance of sharing stories as well as the freedom of speech within North Korea. Despite the government's attempts to halt all foreign media inflow throughout the country, I thought that the North Koreans must have found a way to access it anyhow. And now I'll be moving on to three main categories, being how do North Koreans find out about this outside media? Why do North Koreans seek outside media? And how do North Koreans find loopholes to gain access to this outside media? As for how North Koreans find out about this outside media, well, from a young age, they are required to attend these educational trainings that focus heavily on ingraining North Korean ideologies into their minds. They are taught the principles of communism and that those living in the Western world, including South Korea and America, are evil. In order to further their agenda, North Korean authorities utilize domestic television channels as well as printed newspapers. Thus, North Koreans rely on their friends and neighbors for their information. As for why North Koreans seek this outside media, well, the reasons can vary from business survival to just mere curiosity about the outside world. For well over a decade, digital media, recorded content, and communications devices have flowed steadily across the border of China and spread throughout the country of North Korea. As the reach of digital media continues to increase, North Koreans are able to upgrade technologies to improve the way they view familiar content or gain access to new types of content entirely. At the same time, however, this increasing digitalization provides the state with more tools to block and censor this media. And as for how North Koreans find loopholes to gain access to this outside media, well, they can buy these illegal, free-tuning radios sold on the black market, especially prevalent in cities near the Chinese border, where it is much safer and easier to buy there. South Korea and America host channels specifically aimed at North Koreans who may be tuning in illegally. Listeners often tune in from the hours of 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. in order to avoid any random security checks or any random neighbors who may just report them to the police. So what does all this actually really mean? Well, as more North Koreans are exposed to the outside world, they will begin to understand that their current living situation is unacceptable. Hunger, restrictions of freedoms, and harsh government punishments, including political prison camps, where all North Koreans, including children, may be forced to work up to 15 hours a day or be tortured for very minor offenses, should not be a part of their everyday lives. They will begin to develop a desire to escape North Korea and, most importantly, build a life for themselves. I do not think that the North Koreans will be freed by any external military force, by America or any other countries, but by the efforts of their own people. This is Joseph Kim. When he was 12 years old, his father died of starvation, his mother was sent to a political prison camp, and his sister was sold off to a Chinese man. He was homeless and orphaned, and in 2005, escaped North Korea to China. From there, he was connected to Link and escaped to America 2 years later in 2007. In America, he became fluent in English, graduated from college, wrote a book, and even shared a TED Talk that has over 1.7 million views, detailing and sharing his experience living in North Korea. One life can spread so much information to the outside world about the current situation happening there. We should continue to spread awareness about the current situation happening in North Korea. Thank you.